The day I was replaced by the CEO's son began with him glancing at my payroll screen and sneering, "This is ancient." The word hung in the air longer than it should have. I looked from him to the others at the table, waiting for someone to challenge it. No one did. "My name is Claire Whitmore," I said evenly. I designed and maintained that system for over 10 years. It has processed monthly payroll for more than 15,000 employees across Texas and 3 neighboring states. It has never missed a pay cycle. He leaned back, folding his arms like this was already over. Exactly. 10 years is the problem. We move faster now. The CEO didn't bother meeting my eyes. My son has built a more efficient solution. 5 times faster, less overhead. Faster doesn't mean correct, I replied. Payroll isn't a race, it's compliance, labor law, tax reconciliation. One error doesn't cost pride. It costs people rent. A thin smile crossed his son's face. That's fear talking, not innovation. The HR director slid a folder across the table before I could respond. The motion was practiced, clean, prepared. "We'll need you to remain for a short transition period," she said, fingers still resting on the paper. After the next payroll run, I didn't open the folder. I didn't need to. Termination dates don't require reading when they're already decided. "So, this is happening," I said. Not loud, not shaking, just clear. The CEO nodded once. "This is what's best for the company," I stood, feeling the weight of 10 years compress into a single breath. "Then I'll make the transition smooth. That part matters to me." His son smirked again, already turning his chair toward the screen. "I'll have this done by Friday." I picked up my badge and slid it into my palm. "Good luck," I told him, meeting his eyes for the first time. "To you and to the whole company." I left before anyone could stop me, not because I was angry, but because staying would have meant pretending this was a discussion. The story you are about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revenge Idea. It explores power, accountability, and what happens when experience is dismissed in favor of ego. While the characters and events are imagined, the emotional truths behind them reflect real workplace conflicts faced by professionals every day. By the time I reached my desk, my system access was already disappearing, one permission at a time. The handoff meeting was scheduled less than an hour after I packed my desk, as if they were afraid momentum might fade if they waited. The CEO's son stood at the front of the room with a laptop already connected to the screen. "No more bottlenecks," he announced. "No more over-engineering," he clicked once. A spreadsheet filled the display. "This replaces everything," he continued. "Clean, simple calculations run in seconds." I crossed my arms, keeping my voice steady. "You're running payroll for union and non-UN crews in multiple states. How are you handling overtime thresholds that change by contract?" He barely glanced up. "Those are edge cases." "They're not," I replied. "They're the majority. Texas alone has different rules depending on project classification." Another click. I built lookup tables. State rules are just data. Data that changes, I said, sometimes without notice. "How are you reconciling midweek transfers across state lines?" The CEO shifted in his chair, impatience creeping into his tone. "Claire, we're not debating theory. We're modernizing." "Modernizing without understanding isn't modernization," I said. "It's gambling." His son laughed softly. "You're proving my point. This doesn't need to be complicated. I ran a full test in under 10 minutes using what data I asked." "Samples?" he said. "Simulation? Real payroll doesn't behave like a simulation," I replied. "People don't get simulated rent." The room went quiet for a beat too long. The CEO broke it. "What I hear is resistance. We can't afford fear-driven decisions." I looked straight at him. "This isn't fear. This is experience." He didn't respond. Instead, his phone buzzed. A moment later, everyone else's did too. An internal message landed in my inbox, copied broadly. Subject line: Legacy Payroll Risk Assessment. The body was short, transitioning away from outdated systems to reduce operational exposure. No names, no context, just a direction. The CEO's son closed his laptop with a confident snap. We'll take it from here. I gathered my notes, suddenly very aware that the conversation had shifted without me. They weren't asking for a handoff anymore. They were setting a narrative. The transition request arrived before lunch, formal and urgent, flagged as mandatory. Human Resources scheduled the meeting and opened with a checklist already printed. We'll need complete documentation, the director began. All passwords, vendor credentials, access protocols. I nodded once. I'll provide what exists. She paused, pen hovering, and the rest. There is no rest, I said. There are systems, procedures, records. The CEO's son leaned forward, irritation slipping through his confidence. You're telling us 10 years of work fits into a folder? I'm telling you 10 years of work fits into what's written down, I replied. The rest is judgment. That sounds like withholding, he said. I met his stare without raising my voice. It sounds like reality, he tapped the table. So when something breaks, we're just supposed to guess. When something breaks, I said, you trace it. You don't guess, and you don't learn that from a document. The HR director tried to soften the moment. We're just trying to ensure continuity. Continuity requires authority, I replied. You removed mine. Silence followed, not confusion. Calculation. The CEO's son exhaled sharply. Let's be clear. We're not paying you to protect secrets. You're not paying me at all, I said, and I'm not protecting secrets. I'm respecting boundaries. I slid a printed packet across the table, clean, organized. Every documented process I was obligated to provide. Everything operational is there. Credentials are time-limited. Vendor contacts are current. He flipped through the pages too quickly to read, and the undocumented parts I stood. I'm handing over what exists, not what I've learned by cleaning up disasters. The meeting ended without ceremony. Back at my desk, I forwarded every message, every request, every accusation to a private legal archive I had set up the night before. I didn't label the folder emotionally, just dates, names, times. By the end of the afternoon, my access was reduced to read only. Responsibility was being erased carefully, one permission at a time. By mid-morning, pieces of my access began disappearing without warning. First, I lost the ability to approve payroll adjustments. Then, the vendor portal locked me out. When I refreshed my screen, even my admin dashboard was gone, replaced by a read-only view that felt like watching my own work through glass. The CEO's son didn't bother hiding his victory. He rolled his chair into my space, dropped into my seat, and spun once like it was a joke. Everyone should enjoy. I'll have this wrapped up in one afternoon, he announced to the room. Turns out it doesn't need to be complicated. No one laughed. No one stopped him. I closed the folder on my desk and stood. There's one thing you should know before you run anything. He leaned back, hands behind his head. Go ahead. Bank processing closes at noon, I said. Anything sent after that won't move until Monday. If the file fails, people don't get paid. He waved a hand like he was brushing away dust. I've got it handled. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. Running it again won't fix bad data, I added. It multiplies it. That earned a grin. You worry too much. The HR director appeared at my side, eyes already avoiding mine. Security is ready when you are. A uniformed guard stepped forward, polite but firm. He didn't know me, and I didn't blame him. This was just another task on his list. I slipped my badge onto the desk where I had worked for over a decade. The plastic made a small sound when it hit the wood, louder than it should have been. As we walked toward the exit, my phone buzzed. Access revoked. Email disabled. The CEO's son called after me, amused. Don't stress. We'll take it from here. I kept walking. Outside, the doors closed behind me with a finality. I didn't fight. I wasn't angry. I wasn't shaking. I was very clear about what I had just watched them replace. The first message came from Jenna and payroll just after 9. Something's wrong. One crew is showing negative pay. I stared at the screen longer than I needed to. Then another message appeared. this time from Marco in operations. According to the portal, a forklift operator is making $847 an hour. My phone didn't stop after that. Screenshots followed. Confusion turned into panic in real time. I didn't need to open the files to know what had happened. Column misalignment. Hours treated as rates. Rates multiplied by identifiers that were never meant to be numbers. A spreadsheet doing exactly what it was told, not what anyone intended. Jenna called. I let it ring twice before answering. Claire, please tell me you're seeing this. I am. We didn't touch your old system, she said quickly. Like a confession, he imported everything into Excel. All of it. Live data. My jaw tightened. Did he reprocess after the first error? There was a pause, then her voice dropped. He said the numbers looked weird and ran it again. That was the moment it became irreversible. Running corrupted data through recursive formulas doesn't reset a mistake, it compounds it. A new message came through from an unknown number. The CEO's son. We're seeing some irregularities, probably legacy data issues. We're rerunning now. I typed one line, then deleted it, typed again. Deleted that too. Jenna was still on the line? Breathing too fast? The portal is updating in real time. People are checking their pay-ups, I know, I said. And the more it recalculates, the worse it gets. So, what do we do? I looked at my hands, steady despite everything. You document everything. Don't touch anything else. And you? I ended the call without answering. Another message buzzed in. This one from a foreman I recognized. My net pay is $12,000. Am I supposed to owe the company now? I powered my phone off and set it face down on the table. They had taken control. Now they own the outcome. What happens when 15,000 people don't get paid at once? The answer arrived before noon. Jenna called again, voice stripped of pretense. The bank froze the transfer. I didn't interrupt. They flagged the file as suspicious. She continued. Amounts don't reconcile. Account validations failed. Another voice cut in on her end. Someone from finance. They think we're trying to move money that doesn't exist. By early afternoon, the calls multiplied. Not payroll this time. A site manager from East Houston spoke fast and angry. My crews aren't working. They're sitting in their trucks. Nobody's moving until they see real numbers. Another call overlapped it. The union wants answers. A compliance officer warned. State labor is asking for documentation. By 3, it was no longer internal. A reporter's voicemail played automatically when my phone came back on. Helicopters hovered over idle job sites. Cameras pointed at steel cranes and silent concrete pours. The company number finally appeared on my screen. I answered. The CEO didn't waste time. What did you do? I leaned back, letting the accusation land. I don't work there anymore. A sharp breath came through the line. This is because of your system. No, I replied. This is because you replaced it. You knew this would happen. I told you what would happen if bad data was reprocessed. Silence followed. Not disbelief, recognition. His voice dropped. The bank won't release funds. The state wants an explanation. Crews are threatening walkouts. I warned you about the cutoff, I said. And about rerunning errors. So you're just going to let this burn. I chose my words carefully. I no longer have authority. Touching anything now would make it worse. Another voice broke in on his end. His son. This is an overreaction. We can fix it. I heard the CEO turn away from him. Not now. The line went quiet again. We need you, the CEO said at last. Not a demand, a statement. I didn't respond. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside their company, everything had stopped, and they were finally running out of places to point the blame. What price do you name when someone finally admits they need you? The CEO called just after sunrise. His voice sounded thinner than it had a week earlier. We need you back, he said. As a consultant, I let the silence stretch long enough to make the shift in power unmistakable. Before we talk, I replied, understand something? I don't fix messes for free, and I don't do it quietly. He exhaled. Name your terms. Payment up front. I set full consulting rate, no delays, no exceptions that can be arranged. Second, I continued a written acknowledgement public. The payroll failure was caused by a premature system replacement, not legacy risk. There was a pause, paper shuffled on his end. That will be uncomfortable. So was being escorted out of my own department. Another pause. Fine. One more thing, I added. Your son has zero involvement. He doesn't attend meetings. He doesn't approve changes. He doesn't speak for the project. His voice tightened. You're asking me to sideline him. I'm asking you to choose between fixing payroll and protecting his ego. The line went quiet. When he spoke again, the fight was gone. He won't be involved. Then send the contract, I said, signed, and the payment cleared. By the time I arrived at headquarters, security didn't stop me. They nodded and stepped aside. The recovery meeting was already in progress when I entered. Finance, compliance, payroll leads. Everyone looked up at once. The CEO gestured to the empty chair at the head of the table. Claire will be leading this. His son stood near the wall, arms crossed. You can go, the CEO said without looking at him. What? His voice cracked. This is my project. It was. The CEO replied. Now it's her responsibility. The door closed behind him with a soft final click. I set my bag down and opened my notebook. First rule, I said, meeting every pair of eyes in the room. We stopped improvising. No one argued. For the first time since the system collapsed, the room was listening to the right person. How do you rebuild something that was broken by ignorance, not malice? I didn't answer it loud. I opened the logs. Jenna stood beside me, eyes red but focused. I didn't know these even existed, she said quietly. Most people don't, I replied. They're not for speed. They're for truth. Hour by hour, transaction records unfolded, not guesses, not simulations. Actual events preserved exactly as they happened. I rebuilt the sequence the spreadsheet had shattered, one payroll group at a time, one state at a time. Marco from operations hovered near the doorway. So we don't rerun anything? He asked. No, I said. We reconcile. Rerunning multiplies damage. Reconciling isolates it. He nodded and stepped back, finally taking notes instead of shortcuts. By midnight the room had changed. The frantic clicking was gone. No one was improvising anymore. Every adjustment required confirmation. Every confirmation required a second set of eyes. Jenna leaned over my shoulder. That overtime rate shouldn't move, she said. It doesn't, I replied. Watch the dependency chain, she followed it. Slow at first, then faster. Oh, that's why it failed. That's why it always worked before, I said. By 3 a.m, the numbers stopped fighting back. Net pay aligned with holdings reconciled. Union differentials landed where they were supposed to. Finance joined us just before dawn. The bank's asking if we're ready. One of them said, cautious now. We are, I replied. Send the file exactly once. No one rushed. When the transmission confirmation came through, the room exhaled together, not relief recognition. Payroll wasn't magic. It was discipline. Jenna checked the portal, hands steady. Pay stubs are updating, she said. They're right. I closed the final log and stood. Notify the crews. Full pay plus compensation for downtime. Marco didn't hesitate this time. I'll handle it. As the room began to move again, the CEO lingered near the back. You did in hours what we couldn't fix in days? I met his eyes. No, I said. I fixed what never should have been broken. The system was stable again, and everyone in that room knew exactly why. Who pays the price when leadership chooses ego over evidence? The answer arrived in waves, not all at once. Jenna showed me the confirmation first. Every crew's been paid, she said. Full amount plus compensation for the downtime. Good, I replied. Make sure the notice goes out before rumors due. By mid-morning, the CEO asked me into his office. No assistants, no son, just a single document waiting on the desk. This is the statement, he said. Legal approved it. I read it once, then again. The language was clean, direct, no euphemisms. The payroll failure was caused by a premature system replacement initiated by executive leadership without adequate review. I looked up. You're putting your name on this? He nodded. I am. And you understand this doesn't make it disappear. I do, he said, but it makes it accurate. The compliance director joined us moments later, binder already marked. The state has accepted the explanation, she said. They're recording it as a governance failure. No further action, pending monitoring. Monitoring for how long, the CEO asked. She didn't soften it as long as they think necessary. The door opened again. Human resources this time. We've completed the internal review, the director said, eyes fixed on the folder in her hands. The decision is termination with cause. No names were needed. The CEO closed his eyes briefly, then nodded, effective immediately. The director hesitated, then looked at me. Your documentation helped clarify the sequence. I kept records, I said. That's all. Later that afternoon, I passed his son in the hallway. No entourage, no confidence. He didn't speak. Neither did I. By evening, the workers had their money. The regulators had their statement. The company had its scar, and the leadership team had something they hadn't expected to lose so publicly. Credibility doesn't regenerate on a timeline. Once it's gone, every decision after carries the weight of that loss. What does winning look like when you refuse to go back? The CEO offered the role 2 days after the regulators closed their file. Permanent, he said, sliding the contract toward me. Expanded authority, clean slate. I didn't touch the paper. I'm done being the safety net for decisions I don't make. I replied, consulting ends this week. He studied me longer than before, as if searching for leverage that was no longer there. You could rebuild this place. I already did what mattered. I said I made sure people were paid. The silence that followed was intense. It was final. 3 weeks later, I was sitting across from executives who had watched the news coverage carefully. One firm after another asked the same thing, phrased differently. We don't want speed, a chief financial officer told me. We want certainty. That costs discipline. I replied, not shortcuts. They signed without negotiating down. 3 contracts, all compliance-focused, all independent. No loyalty clauses, no politics disguised as innovation. Jenna called on my second day working for myself. They downsized again, she said. Half the executive floor is gone. And payroll? I asked. Stable, she answered. Boring? The good kind. Months later, I heard the former CEO had resigned quietly. No announcement, no farewell message, just an empty office and a line item in a filing no one celebrated. One afternoon, I drove past the old building without slowing. The glass looked the same. The logo hadn't changed. The difference was inside. I hadn't won by staying. I had won by leaving with my work intact and my name clean. Before I closed my laptop that night, I wrote 1 line at the top of my new client onboarding document and left it there for myself as much as for them. Experience is not the opposite of innovation.